Okay. Let's start sharing my screen. Share the screen. Okay. Here we go. So, curious, have any of you guys actually downloaded and played with the Total CMS trial?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay. So, are you guys familiar with what a content management system is?
Yeah, the only one I played around with was by using Google Docs or Google Drive, whatever it's called now. Trying a couple of my users, a page they could edit by themselves. I think there was, I can't remember, it's a Stack as well that was using that. But the difficulty was getting the users actually interested and involved in doing it. So that's the only play around I've had.
Okay. So you probably know that CMS stands for Content Management System, right? So that's exactly what this is, right? So we're going to edit our RapidWeaver content online. We're going to build the CMS inside RapidWeaver, and then we publish it, and it magically works online, okay? And what's great about this is there is no setup. There's no databases to set up on your server. You just build things as you would any other RapidWeaver site, and then you publish it, and it just magically works, right? It is very simple to use, and that's what we're going to go over right now. Now, we do have two products, right? There is Easy CMS, which we're going to actually spend a bulk of today's session reviewing, okay? We're going to be spending most of the time reviewing Easy CMS because Easy CMS manages text and images, and that is really the core of even Total CMS, okay? And everything that I talk about with Easy CMS today will actually apply to Total CMS as well, 100%. So everything that I talk about with Easy CMS applies to Total CMS. Now, towards the end, we will go over Total CMS and what additional features it has. But we're going to spend a bulk of the time learning the basic principles of how to use the CMS. And I just wanted to say that they both use the same exact concepts. So what I talk about with Easy CMS applies to Total, okay? So what we're going to do now is I'm on this CMS site, the main CMS site, and there are demos set up in here. And we're going to be looking over the cafe demo. So here's the cafe demo, and it is built 100% using Easy CMS. Now, in this site, it's just a very simple one-page site right now, right? And it has some images and a bunch of text. As you see, we have a menu and a shakes menu. And then down here, we have some favorites and some captions below that, okay? So on this page, we're going to go and edit this page. And in this demo, I have an edit this page button. Now, obviously, in real life, you're not going to have a big green button that says edit this page, right? It's probably going to be a URL that you give your client so that they know it. Maybe it's, mydomain.com/admin or /edit or something like that, right? And also, you probably want that page to be password protected as well, right? In this demo, I don't want it to be password protected because I just want people to be able to freely use the demo, okay? So, but that brings up a point that I want to make early on, is that Easy CMS currently does not ship with a method of password protecting your page. The reason for that is we already have a very popular and elaborate product that does that for us. It is called PageSafe. And the Total CMS, however, does, because of its nature, it does ship with a product called Protect that is a very lightweight password protecting tool, okay? But Easy CMS, I will be offering, it isn't today, but probably by the end of tomorrow, maybe next week, I will have a bundle where if you get Easy CMS and PageSafe together, you'll get a small discount if you get both of them, okay? However, with that said, you don't need PageSafe. Chances are your hosting company allows you to password protect web pages as well, so you can use that feature of your hosting company, as well as there's a lot of other add-ons out there that you may own, such as Lockdown, which has been around for years. And there's a couple other password protection stacks out there as well. But so that's the end of my spiel for password protecting your site. You probably do want to password protect your admin page because you don't want anybody going in there and editing the page. Okay. Any questions on that, guys?
No, yeah, that's one of my major questions anyway about I use lockdown, which is probably overkill for this, but yeah, that was the only thing I was thinking about. But yeah, a bundle with PageSafe would be good.
My PageSafe stack, it's a little nicer in terms of style because Lockdown uses some old school logging methods where it just prompts you with like a little window where you type in a username and password, right? My PageSafe stack, if you haven't seen it, have a look at it. It has a nice styled page with like a lock, and you type in a password or a digit pin, and then it has a nice cool unlock animation and the page refreshes. I mean, it's really cool. I put a lot of work into it and it's very elaborate, but yes, you can still use Lockdown for this. If it's something that you already own, you can use that with Easy CMS. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I use Lockdown is it's an amateur radio society with some 350 members, and although it's complete overkill, again, I've issued each one of them an individual password. Which,
there you go. Well, then that is actually a benefit of Lockdown. My PageSafe stack just does a single password, and then basically everybody would know that one password, right? So you just lock a page with a password or a pin, okay? And then everyone who wanted to access that page would just use that same password to open it, right? But Lockdown, I believe it does allow you to have multiple accounts, right? So that's nice. That is a good feature of Lockdown. Okay, so anyway, let's get back to the editing of this page. Okay, let me just refresh it really quick because I made a slight change here. Okay, so what we're going to focus on first, okay, here is editing this image. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to edit this image. So I'm going to go ahead and go in here and drag out an image. Okay, and what we'll notice here is all I did is drag and drop an image, okay, and it automatically got repositioned, and it just automatically got uploaded to the server. Okay, and that's it. If we go back to the live site now, okay, we will see that, oops, let me refresh the page. We will see that that image got replaced. Okay, so that's all it took. Just drag and drop of an image. Okay, it's as simple as that for editing images. Okay, now if you in the admin page, you'll notice when we hover over the image, we have a few actions that we can take. Okay, and via this toolbar, the trash can is obviously a way to delete an image. Okay, and then if we look at some of these other buttons, the tag here allows us to edit the alt tag for an image. Okay, so if here I type in an alt tag, let's give this image a alt tag of cable car. Okay, and I'm going to save it. And if we go back to the demo, and if we were to inspect this image, okay, let's go ahead and just inspect it really quick. It's probably going to be small on your Hangout window, but if you look at the alt tag of the image, it definitely says cable car, which is what I saved it as. Okay, I promise it's there.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so if we go back to edit this page, let's look at what this third button does. And this is very powerful. This is very important here. So we click on this. We'll see that a lightbox opens up, and it has URLs to 3 different images. Now, why would it have URLs to 3 different images? That is because when we upload an image, the CMS actually creates 3 different images for us. Okay? And let's look at what those are. First, I'm going to paste the image here. We'll see that it has the full resolution image. Okay? However, this is slightly different because the image that I uploaded to the server, okay, was actually 3,000 pixels wide. And that's quite large for a website, right? So inside RapidWeaver, I configured this admin stack to tell the CMS to automatically resize images down to a maximum of 1,500 pixels wide. If we look at the title bar in here, Safari tells us the dimensions of an image. Okay, so the CMS automatically protected me from myself and rescaled this image down to 1,500 pixels. Okay, this is important because our customers will upload 5 megabyte images to the CMS. It will happen. Okay, it's not a question of if, it's when they will do it, right? They will do it. And even us, I mean, sometimes we forget to resize an image or compress it down, and we upload it, and all of a sudden it slows down our websites, right? So the CMS here is protecting ourselves from ourselves and keeping our websites fast. Okay, so it makes sure that it keeps the performance of our websites up. Okay. So next, the thing that the CMS does is that it creates a scaled down thumbnail automatically for us. Okay. And obviously in the CMS, we can configure the size of these thumbnails as well. Here I have it created a rather small one at 200 pixels. Okay. But it is just a scaled down thumbnail of the one image that we uploaded. Okay. Now the third image, this is really cool because it also creates a square cropped thumbnail. Okay. Now square thumbnails are very useful because sometimes you want to have multiple images on a page, and having them all look exactly the same in terms of proportions is just aesthetically more pleasing, right? Because they all have the same ratios. They're all going to fit in the same area properly, right? So, and obviously we can customize the size of this square thumbnail as well, okay? And what's important is all of this was done automatically. I dragged and dropped my one image in, and the CMS automatically took care of the rest for us. Okay.
Joe, let me ask you a question.
Yes, Carl.
You uploaded using your browser.
Yes, I'm using the browser.
Rather than RapidWeaver.
Yes, right. Because right now I'm using the CMS as a user. Okay, as how I would edit my website. Yes. So I'm currently doing this inside the browser, completely outside of RapidWeaver right now. Okay. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. So yes, we're going to dive into RapidWeaver really soon, but I just wanted to show you how, from an end user standpoint, how the CMS is used and the features of the CMS. Okay. So what's important about having all of these URLs to my images? Okay. First is that the CMS guarantees that these URLs will never change for this image. Okay. For example, let's open up the tab that has the full resolution image in it. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and upload a new image to this. Okay. So now I've uploaded a new image. Okay. If we go back to this tab, the URL to the image is exactly the same. I haven't changed it, right? But if I refresh, we'll see that I now have that URL resolves to the new image that I've uploaded. Okay, and it would do the same thing for the thumbnails, okay, obviously. But why this is powerful is there are a lot of stacks out there that support warehoused images, okay? This means that any of those stacks that use warehoused images, you can now manage the images in those stacks using the CMS.
Quick question, Joe.
Yes.
Warehouse images, is that just one that you've uploaded to your server, just using as a...
Yes, that is what a warehoused image is, right? Normally, what a warehoused image is an image that you would upload to your server manually, and then you'd get the URL to that image, okay, and then put that in the stack. Well, basically, the CMS here is taking, all the hard part of that, uploading the image to your server, and then getting the URL. The CMS does all of that for us, right? So it's warehousing the image for us, okay? And it's giving us an extremely easy way to manually upload those, okay? Plus, like I said, it also scales it down and creates thumbnails for us, right? So it's doing all of that for us automatically. All we need to do is copy and paste any of the URLs that we want to use. Okay, so you can copy here's the warehouse URL to the square thumbnail, and that will never change as well. And here's the URL to the proportional scale down thumbnail. Okay, and of course here's the full image, right? And the more you use the CMS, if you look at this URL, it is predictable, and we'll see what those are as we use this CMS more and more. And when we dive into RapidWeaver and you see how they're configured, you'll notice these URLs are predictable. Okay, so any other questions on images before I move on? Okay. Let's move on to these text boxes. So I have 2 text boxes here, and I'm going to go ahead and edit these. So I'm just going to add some text. I'm going to say hello. Here I'm going to say hello. Okay. And I'm going to save that. Okay. So first, when I should have said before I saved those, I did it automatically. My fingers just automatically did it. Okay. There are 2 ways to save the content. There is a big save button here, and I can click this save button, okay? And another thing I should have said is I'm going to go ahead and let's just delete one of these, okay? When I edited this text, you'll see that there is a red box around it, okay? I saved it previously a little bit too fast, okay? But let's go ahead and I'm just going to edit both of them, okay? And I'll put it back. So I've now changed these, okay? So these boxes now have red boxes around them. And what that tells us is the CMS is informing us that we now have unsaved changes on the page. So I've changed the text in these boxes, but I haven't saved it yet. Okay? So there are 2 ways we can save the content. The first is by having a save button on the page. And if I were to click this button, it would save those changes. The other way is just use the common keyboard shortcuts for saving. So on Apple, that is Command S. On Windows, that is Control S. Okay? So if I just use Command S on my keyboard, we'll see that both of the contents are saved, and we get confirmation that they are saved by the little green check marks on each box. Okay? Now, if we were to go view the actual web page, okay, we'll see that I have hello and hello there because that's what I edited the text to be. Any questions on that? Pretty simple. Okay. Now, what's important actually is if you notice here, the formatting, okay? This is a header stack, okay? And then this is just a simple paragraph. However, on the admin side, all I did is I changed the actual content, and that's it. Okay? That's important because this means that you as the designer have the power to display how a text is displayed. Is it going to be a header? Is it a paragraph? What are the colors and the styles? But then your client has the ability to just modify the content. Okay? This ensures that us as designers can keep the websites that our users maintain beautiful. Did I say that politically correct enough? Right? Okay.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it.
To be more blunt, users can, with too much control, can make their websites ugly. And we will see that later on, some examples of that. Okay. Now, if we scroll down this admin page, we'll see that we have a formatting cheat sheet. And the reason for that is that Easy CMS actually also supports markdown. Now, are you guys familiar with what markdown is?
Yes.
Okay. It is just a markup language that allows us to add some textual syntax that ultimately converts into HTML on the page. Okay. And this formatting cheat sheet is optional, right? And you can edit the contents of the formatting cheat sheet for your liking, right? And I say it's optional because some clients you might love the formatting cheat sheet, And some clients, it may just scare the hell out of them, right? Because they're going to see this and go, whoa, too much for my brain. This looks like programming. I can't do it. I can't handle this. Okay. And for those customers, you probably don't want to add the formatting cheat sheet. Okay. But I understand those users that this potentially could scare. Okay, where they want to be able to have some control, maybe make some text bold, right? But the fact that they have to remember to do this or even look at this syntax just is freaky for them. So what I've done is I've created my own custom markdown editor. Okay, I scoured the internet for a long time looking for one, and I never found one that worked the way I wanted, so I built one myself. And this is used inside the lunch menu here. Now, if you see, I have some markdown in here already. I have, the titles of my sandwiches, their headers, right? They're H4 tags. And we know that because there are 4 hashtags here. 4 hashtags means an H4, right? If I were to have 1, it would mean an H1. If I were to have 6, it would mean an H6 tag, okay? So here I have some headers, and here I have the ingredients. Now, this first sandwich has bacon as an ingredient. And we all love bacon, right? So I'm going to go ahead and make the bacon bold. So I'm going to go ahead and select the word bacon. And what you'll notice is I have a small tooltip that's come down below the word bacon, okay? And this tooltip is a subset of this larger toolbar that you can add to the page up here. And you can use either one, okay? But I'm going to go ahead and click the bold button on this tooltip. And what you'll notice is just by clicking that button, it's automatically added the markdown for me to the page. Okay? And if I click on cheese, and let's say we want to make cheese italic. If you see, I can also go up to the toolbar and click the italic button, and it will make cheese italic. If we want to see that, I'm going to go ahead and save this content. And let's go view cafe demo. And if when I originally styled this, I made this text black, and I just haven't changed it yet, so sorry. I'm going to select it, makes it white. We'll see that bacon is bold and cheese is italic. Okay? Very simple to do. And as you saw, it's very common way where users are used to seeing those toolbars, and they can just simply make something bold and not bold. Now, if someone wanted to erase formatting, they can select the text that they want and click the little erase formatting button, and all that formatting will be removed. Oops, italic got removed. Okay, so that is possible as well. Now, also, let's say a client is editing some text and they're like, oh no, I've changed the text and now I want to revert back to what it used to be when the last saved state. Well, in the toolbar, there's a rewind button. And if I click that rewind button, it will revert that text box to the last saved state. Okay? And just to show you some other things that are possible here, let's show you how to add a link. I'm going to just quickly select this text and go ahead and click on the link button. And as you'll see, I get prompted for a URL, and I'm going to type in a URL. I'm going to type in joeworkman.net, and I'm going to hit enter. And the Markdown editor automatically adds in the syntax that I would need for a link. Okay? And then I can save that if I want. Now, you can also insert images into the Markdown editor. Okay? Now, however, to insert an image, you will need to know the URL to that image. Okay? Now, maybe in the future, I will make this a little bit more user-friendly in terms of just selecting an image. Okay? But for right now, basically what you can do is you can go up here, you can click on this button, okay? You can copy, let's say we want to have the thumbnail, okay? So I'm going to get the thumbnail for this coffee, okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and go down here, and let's say I want to insert it right here. Actually, you know what? This is a steak sandwich, so I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to get the URL for this one. It's a little more fitting. Right? So I'm going to copy the thumbnail for this image, actually. Okay? Then I want to insert it right here. So we're going to insert an image of the steak sandwich right here. In the toolbar, I have an image button. If I click on that, it's going to prompt me for the URL of my image. I just paste the URL to the image that I just copied and click OK. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save this. And let's look at our page. Okay, if we look here, I now have my steak sandwich menu with my picture of the steak sandwich. Okay, and then also I have that link that we added as well. Okay, so as you see, it's pretty user-friendly, especially with this toolbar, okay, that we can add things. Any questions on that?
No, that looks good.
Okay, cool. Now, further down on the page, you'll notice that we have just some images and other text boxes that serve as labels. These are no different than what the things we already went over, so I'm not going to worry about redragging in images, right? These behave exactly the same. I can drag and drop new images. I can change these labels and save them. Okay? So that pretty much reviews all of the features of, from a user's perspective of Easy CMS. Now, one very important thing with Total CMS and Easy CMS that is inherent here is that you build out your admin page. Okay? This admin page was built using stacks. Okay? And why that's important is because it allows you as the designer to design the admin page that you deem fit, right? So there's a couple ways you can do it. Maybe you white label it for your web design company, right? And you can brand it with your web design company and whatnot if you want. Or maybe you theme the admin area to the exact theme that your customer is using, right? So you make it match the customer's website. And when you do something like this, it looks like a complete custom CMS for the customer, right? And it makes you look like a rock star, right? And all it was just, you just threw some stacks on the page and you make it look pretty, right? So, and we already know how to do that. So these stacks really give you the power to look a lot better to your clients. And chances are you can probably charge more for it. So you could be like, oh, look, I'll build a custom CMS for you. Oh, and it's going to be just for you. And the customer's just going to be like, oh, wow, that's awesome, right? Because it is. Because it is custom for them. It's not a lie, right? I mean, it is a custom CMS for the customer, right? So that is a really big selling feature of these CMS stacks because you do have the full control. You don't need to rely on, if you've ever used PageLine, their complicated admin interface or another CMS's admin interface that probably isn't quite as pretty. And definitely isn't themed to look like the user's website, right? So, any questions before we start jumping into RapidWeaver? Nope. Silence is consent.
Oh, happy.
Okay. So right now I'm going to open up a RapidWeaver file. And this is going to be the actual demo file for Easy CMS that ships with Easy CMS, and you could download anytime you want from our doc portal. Okay? And while we do that, I'm also going to open up a site that this was published on. And we're going to quickly, let's change this picture really quick just so it looks, oh wait, that's not the one I want. I want this one. Okay, cool. Okay, so this is the website we're gonna rebuild right now. Okay, so here we're gonna go over bit by bit the entire build of this site. Okay, it has a banner image. It has some tabs here with content inside the tabs, an image and text content inside both tabs. Okay. And if we look at the admin area, again, my custom built admin area that is themed towards this website, right? I have a image drop zone at the very top that is for managing the banner, okay? And then down here, I have 2 column stacks that support all of the tab contents, okay? And that's what we're going to be reviewing right now. So let's jump into RapidWeaver. And we're going to start at the admin page. Now, first, let's review the stacks actually that come with Easy CMS and Total CMS. Okay, I have them all grouped here in stacks 3. And what you'll notice is that all the icons are color coded. Okay, for Easy CMS, we have white and blue stacks. Okay, themed icons. And then for Easy CMS, the icons are orange and white. Now, the solid colored background stack icons are going to be all the stacks that you use to build out your admin pages. And then the stacks that have white backgrounds, those are going to be the stacks that you use to build your content. So those are going to be the stacks that display the content from the CMS. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yep.
Now, obviously, Total CMS has a lot more stacks than Easy CMS, and that's because it has more features. Okay, and again, we're going to look at that later on today. But right now, we're going to look at how do we start building this page. So the first stack that you're going to want to add to your admin page is going to be the admin core stack. Now, this admin core stack needs to be on every single admin page that you build, because it contains all of these styles, all of the JavaScript, and the actual CMS application. Okay? Now, another thing with the admin core stack, before you actually can really make everything work properly inside RapidWeaver, you're going to want to publish a page with this admin core stack to your server, because that's going to actually publish and deploy the CMS application to your web server. Okay, so even if it's just a blank stacks page with admin core on it, that's fine. Okay, if you're not ready to publish content yet, okay, if you just publish a blank page with admin core, that gets the CMS application on the server. Okay. Now, the admin core stack has additional functionality. If you look at the settings, it's what we use to, it's kind of like if you've used my foundation stacks, it's like site styles, okay, but for the admin stacks. It allows you to define all the colors and whatnot for all the admin components. The icons, the buttons, the text colors inside the inputs, the borders around them, so on and so forth, right? Okay, so this stack should just be added once to every admin page. Okay, any questions up for that?
No.
I have a question.
Cool. So now we're going to jump into the image stack. So this particular stack that I have highlighted right now is going to be this one right here. Okay, it's managing the banner image.
Carl had a question,
Yes.
Joe.
You say, what if you have a 5-page?
Carl, it's really hard. It's really tough for me to hear you.
Okay. If you have a 5-page site, you have to have 5 pages.
Oh, good question. Okay, so the question that Carl added, or that Carl asked was, if we have a 5-page website, do we have to have 5 admin pages? And that's a great question. And the answer to that is no. It's purely up to you. Okay. If you want to have multiple admin pages, you can. If you want to build it all out in one admin page, you can do that as well. Okay. And you can build the admin page any way you want. If you want to, like here, I just use columns. There's nothing stopping me from using a tab container and then storing the admin boxes in different tabs, or an accordion, or something of that nature, right? So really, the layout of the admin page is completely up to you, okay? And all of the content within the CMS is inherently global. So if it doesn't matter how many admin pages you have, they're all going to be editing a centralized, storage of content for your site, okay? So all of the CMS data throughout the entire site is going to be global. So because of that, it doesn't matter how many admin pages you create. Does that answer your question, Carl?
It
Excellent.
does.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. So back to this, I have this image stack here, this image admin stack, and it's inside the admin, here, it's this stack right here that I added to the page. And again, if we look at the website, it's going to be this stack right here that I'm configuring, and it's the stack for my banner image. So if we look at the settings for this stack, we'll see that the first setting is called a CMS ID. Okay? And this is a very important setting. This setting is basically the main way that we tie all CMS stacks together. So if you understand the concept that I'm going to relay right now, you're set for the entire CMS. I have an admin area for this image that I set to have a CMS ID of banner. Okay? If I go to the content stacks page, okay, where this particular image here displays that banner image, okay, and that is this white image stack right here, okay? If I look at the settings for this, it also has a CMS ID of banner. Okay? So what we've done is we have a admin stack that has a CMS ID of banner. And then I have a content stack that also has a CMS ID of banner. Because they both are assigned to the same CMS ID, they are now tied together. Does that make sense? Cool. Easy. You are now experts in Easy CMS and Total CMS. That's it. That's all it takes, right? Okay, to build it. And I'm not joking. That's really the most complicated concept here. Okay, so let's keep going down. And if we look now at some of the other settings, we'll see that earlier I mentioned inside RapidWeaver we can configure the sizes of the image when they're uploaded. Okay, so if you look inside the admin image stack, there is an image max, a thumb max, and a square max setting, okay? And this is exactly what controls the maximum pixel size of the images, okay? Now, you'll notice that there is also an image quality setting, and this is a percentage. This is the compression of the image. Okay, so if you've ever exported an image from Photoshop or Pixelmator or Preview even, you'll notice that it has like that compression quality, setting when you export it. That's exactly what this is. Basically, the higher the percentage, let's say if we went to 100%, that is going to give us the maximum quality image, but it also is the maximum file size. Now, I do not recommend that you use 100% because even just going down to 99%, you're going to have essentially zero quality reduction in the image to the visible eye, but your file size is going to be drastically smaller. Okay? Now, I had set the default image size to be 85%, or the image quality, to be 85%. And the reason I have that as the default is because for most commonly sized images that we use on our website, even at 85% compression, okay, you don't really have much noticeable visual difference. However, the size of the file is drastically smaller, okay? So what I recommend is, play around with this compression setting and find one that is proper for you, for the images that you're doing, okay, or for the images that you're using. You can start with the default. Maybe you want to increase that, okay, to 90 or 95%, okay? It is really up to you. Any questions on those settings? No? Excellent. I'm going to move down now, and we're going to look at some of the text editing features here. Now, as I've said before, I've just added a normal two-column, this is two-column foundation stack, but it's just a two-column stack that then organizes my content into two different areas, where I'm now managing the title of the tab, the image inside the tab, and the text of the tab. Okay, so if we look on that online, right, we see that I have my title of my tab, the actual image, and then the content of the tab. Okay. So right now I'm going to focus on editing the text content of the tab. So if we look at this, we'll notice that obviously the first setting in this stack is the CMS ID. And as I said, for image, this is how we tie this content between the admin side and the content side. Okay. Now next, this setting is the show save button. Now this is off by default, but you can show a save button for just that particular text area. Now I have this turned off by default because chances are on our admin pages, we're going to have a lot of different text areas. And you probably don't want to have save buttons for every single text area. So what do? Well, at the very top of this particular page, I have a save stack. Okay. And if we add a save stack to the page, we'll notice that is just a generic drop zone. There are absolutely no settings to this save stack, but I can add any button stack that I want into the save button, into the save stack. I can add a foundation button. I can add the default stacks button. Okay, I can add my sweep button stack or any other the copious amounts of third-party button stacks that are out there. I can add any of those into the save stack, and it will automatically be turned into a save button. Okay, does that make sense? Good.
Yep.
And you can still,
yes.
You can still format like a sweep button. You can use the formatting of the sweep button and drop it in there, and then it will look like that on the.
I'm sorry, Carl. I kind of missed half of that one. Can you repeat that?
Yes. If you use the sweep button and you use formatting sweep button.
Yes.
And then drop it in save stack.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have formatting.
Correct. Yes. So what Carl asked was, if I add my favorite button stack into the save stack, will all of the formatting from my favorite button stack still be used? Yes. The save stack doesn't modify the button in any way other than it basically captures a click event on the button. And it says, basically it's smart. It says, whatever button is inside here, let's just watch for when the user clicks on it. And when it clicks on it, I'm going to then go up and fire a save event to the CMS. Make sense? Cool. Thank you. Okay, so let's go back and let's look at this text area again. And let's see some of the other settings. So next we have placeholder, which is just the text that will be displayed if there's no text saved in that area. Okay. And then we have a markdown formatting checkbox, and we're going to review that in just a little bit. I'm going to skip it right now. Then we have a strip HTML on save button or setting. And what this allows us to do, and this is off by default, but it will allow us to strip the HTML that someone potentially copies and pastes into this box. Okay. It is off by default because sometimes we want our users to be able to put in HTML and have that HTML be reflected on the page, okay? But as I've said before, sometimes with some of our users, we need to help protect them from themselves, okay? And some of those users tend to know how to use Google too well and maybe find some crazy snippet on the internet and they'll paste it in here, okay? And maybe for those users, we want to turn on strip HTML on save because what that will do is it will keep the content, but it will strip all the HTML tags before it's saved to the CMS. Okay. Then the last setting here is form height. Okay. And that obviously just is simply adjusts the height of the form. Okay. Pretty simple. Now let's review this markdown formatting setting, and I'm going to preview this page. Okay, and if I scroll down to this box, okay, if you remember, I can select text, and I have this cool little formatting tooltip that comes up, right, that I can make text bold or italic, right, and then I can also use the formatting toolbar at the top here. right? Okay. But if I turn off formatting Markdown for this particular text box, which I'm going to do now, I've turned off Markdown formatting. Now, if I select the text here, I don't get any tooltips. And if I try to click buttons from the toolbar, they don't actually do anything to the text content in that box. Okay? So this is how, now it's not going to stop a user from typing in Markdown because Markdown really is just text, okay? But it will stop them from using the...
Carry on, I'm back.
Okay. It does stop the users from actually entering and using these shortcuts for adding Markdown to the stack, okay? Now, in this particular use case, okay, we actually want Markdown formatting. So I'm going to turn that back on for this box. But where does this make sense? Where would we want to actually disable Markdown formatting? And a perfect use case for that is these tab title names, okay? If we were to go to the content page and look at the tabs, right? We don't want the user to add any sort of content that they want, okay, Markdown into these tabs. We just want the text content and that's it, right? Okay, so here I only want about. I don't want anything else. I just want home and about for these tab titles. I don't want the user to be able to add Markdown, which would ultimately result in HTML, which could potentially break this tab stack, okay? So if we go to the admin page and we look at these tab areas where we can control these tab titles, if I select these, I don't get any tooltip. And I can't use the toolbar to add any sort of formatting to this area. Right? So does that make sense on a good use case for when we would not want to use Markdown formatting? Yes? Okay, perfect. Okay, so now this is a good leeway into exactly how are we getting the contents of that admin area into these tab titles. So let's look at how we do that. So here I am on the content page, okay? And what we'll notice here is that where I would normally add my titles to my tabs, I have a little CMS macro in here, okay? Now I know this is probably difficult for you to read, so I've already got that prepared right here in a text document that's more easy to read for you, okay? And this macro syntax is, the reason I chose this syntax is because it's something that's used throughout RapidWeaver, as well as some other popular add-ons for accessing data from that plugin, okay? And what that syntax is a %. Then for the CMS, we're using the CMS ID, okay? And then enclosing %, right? Pretty simple, right? So %, the CMS ID of that area, and then a closing %, okay? So if we were to look at these tab titles, that's exactly what I added here. For tab 1, I entered %title 1%, and for tab 2, I entered %title 2%. And if you want to confirm, if we go back to our edit page, this is the particular area that edits the title for tab 1. I have my CMS ID set to title 1, and I have the text box that edits title 2 set the CMS ID to title 2. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay.
Yep.
So that's all we need to do to ensure that we integrate with third-party stacks. Okay? Now, there is one other thing that we need to do. If we want to use macros throughout our entire page, okay, we do need to ensure that we have at least one instance of the easy text stack on the page. Okay? Now, I'm using this easy text stack right here to insert the content of a CMS of the CMS here in the tab stack, okay? But if I just wanted to use macros everywhere on the page, what you would do is you would just add a CMS text stack to the very bottom of the page. Okay. And you'll notice when you do that, okay, it actually has a few examples of all the available macros that you can use. Now, I'm going to review these various macros in a little bit, okay? But just for right now, know that you have to have at least one instance of the easy text stack on the page in order for you to use the macros, okay? Now, I'm going to delete this one because I have instances of this stack on the page, okay? Because I'm utilizing it, and we'll see how I do this in a little bit. But I want to go back to using the macros and talk about that a little bit more, because you can use them in more than just text areas like I have here in the title. For example, I'm going to go ahead and add a foundation button to the page. Now, the foundation button stack doesn't allow me to edit the text of the button directly right here inside edit mode, okay? That is inside the settings of the stack. But I can still use that macro in the stack settings. So I'm going to go ahead and use %title 2%, okay? And if we look in edit mode, it actually shows us, the macro, okay? And if I preview the page, we will see that the actual button now contains that CMS content, okay? It matches the tab 2. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes.
Now, for the past few minutes, we've actually seen a feature of this CMS that you may have taken for granted. Can either of you gentlemen tell me what that feature could be?
Didn't know there were going to be questions for us.
Ha
Tested.
Okay. So I'm sure you've totally taken this for granted. And it could be that maybe you haven't used some other CMS solutions in RapidWeaver, okay? But we have full access to all of the CMS content inside RapidWeaver, just as if we were on the live website, okay? If I go back to the live website in Safari, okay, we'll see that we have the same exact content, right? Here's the live website. Here's RapidWeaver. Now, obviously, I added this button in RapidWeaver that I didn't publish yet, so that's why it's not on the live website, right? But what is awesome here is that this proves that we can actually preview our content, the actual CMS content, while we are building our site. Okay? That's very, very powerful. It gives us a lot of great control over design, okay? Because a lot of other CMSs, you define your content online, and then you add a stack inside RapidWeaver, but you can't see that content. So you can only pray that once you publish it, it actually looks the way that you hope it will look, right? That's not the case with Easy CMS and Total CMS. You have full access to all of the CMS data live directly inside RapidWeaver, okay? And that's not just for viewing content either. Because let's say I decided, hey, look, I want to name this home tab. Okay? Now I'm in the admin interface inside RapidWeaver, and I just changed the contents of my CMS directly from RapidWeaver. So I'm going to switch back to the live site, okay? And I'm going to refresh this page here. And we'll notice that this tab now changed from home to home tab because I changed it from inside RapidWeaver. This means that we have full integration of the CMS into RapidWeaver. We can not only preview the content, but we can also modify the content from inside RapidWeaver. Now, there is one small caveat, and that is that we actually cannot right now edit images inside RapidWeaver. So if I drag an image on top of RapidWeaver, RapidWeaver isn't going to allow me to do that, okay? Because RapidWeaver just doesn't accept that as an input. Okay, but I do have a workaround for that if you want to do this locally. And if you just hit Command P in RapidWeaver, that will actually preview the website locally inside your default web browser. Okay, so now RapidWeaver is opened up this page locally inside Safari. And if we look at the URL bar, it's a file URL. It's local. It's not published. Okay, now I can go ahead and choose a new image and upload the new image from the local copy inside Safari. Okay, now if I close this and go back to the live website and I refresh, we will see that that new image is now live on the website. Okay. Any questions so far? No? Okay. I'm going to take this even one step farther. Okay. Now let's say my customer comes to me and says, I want to add a new editable text region to my site. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and I'm going to add in a new text edit area to the very top here, just for speed's sake. Okay. And I'm going to make the CMS ID of this. We're going to set it to Carl, because just to prove to you that this is not a current ID that I have set up on the site. Okay. Now I'm going to go to my content page, and let's go ahead and delete this button. We don't need that anymore. And I'm going to add a new text area to the page, and I'm going to insert that Carl macro. Okay, by clicking on, I'm going to add a text stack. Click on Insert Text Macro, and then I'm going to set this to Carl, my CMS ID to Carl. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and say, let's accept markdown formatting. Let's preview this page. So what we see here is that we get a little message from the CMS saying it's unable to find the CMS file with ID Carl. Okay. Well, the reason for that is we haven't saved any content for Carl, right? But that's no problem because we have full admin capabilities from inside RapidWeaver. So I'm going to go back to the admin page. And remember, this is the text edit area that I added that has the Carl ID. And I'm going to type in, hello, Carl. Thank you for coming today. And let's go ahead and let's make Carl bold. Okay, and I'm going to save that. Okay, so I've now saved that text content to Carl on the CMS. And if we go back to our content page, we will see that here we go. I have, hello, Carl. Thank you for coming today. Now, why is this, what I just did that took the last minute, so powerful? Any ideas? No? Okay. I just added content via the CMS to my web page, correct? But did I publish any of this? And anytime that I did this, did we actually publish? No, I did not.
Not yet.
Right? And if I go to the live website right now, all right, I'll refresh the content page. That is not there. Okay, and if I go to the admin page, that box that I added to the top of the image, it is not there, right? That's because we have complete control inside RapidWeaver. We can add new content areas, save content to them on the CMS on the server, and then display that content without it even displaying on the live web page. This means we can add new content to our sites and only publish it when we are happy with it, right? Does this make sense on kind of why this works?
Yep. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Okay. Any questions before I move on? No? Okay, cool. That was a very important point, a powerful point that everything does definitely work inside RapidWeaver. You do not have to publish because the admin stacks will save the content to your server, and then the content stacks will pull it down, okay? And it will all be within RapidWeaver. So let's go back to our content page, okay? And Yes, Carl.
You have to. You want to see it on the. You want to see it on the live. You have to.
Yes, if I wanted to see what I just added on the live website, I would have to publish it. Yeah. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the content of tab 1. And what that is this text edit area and this content area. Okay, this is what we're going to be focusing on configuring right now. This text content area right here. Okay. So I'm going to delete this this easy text stack, and we're going to rebuild it from scratch. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and add in a new easy text stack. Okay. Now, since I'm going to use this text stack and insert actual content from the CMS here, I'm going to go in the settings and say insert text macro. And I know that the CMS ID for this particular region is going to be content 1. Okay. Now, if you notice here, the text stack is giving us a little hint because it's displaying the macro that it's actually going to insert onto the page for us. Okay. So we can kind of use this text stack as kind of like a cheat sheet for creating our macros. Okay. So it's a little convenient way. Or we can just use the text stack to insert the macros on the page if we can, right? Obviously for the tabs, I couldn't because it's just a text area. Okay. Now by default, the macros display plain text. Okay. So if I preview this page right now, we will see that the contents of this tab is plain text. It has markdown in here, but it's not processed because we told the macro that we just want to use plain text. Okay? But if you look inside the text stack, there is a display setting, and we can set that to format markdown. And if you notice, that changes the macro a little bit. Okay? It adds a dash format flag to the macro. So basically what it's doing is it's adding a space dash format. And you can use this macro as well anywhere that you want. Okay? And what it will do, if we look at this, it will take that markdown that we have and it will process it and turn it into HTML. So it turned that header that we had in markdown into header, and it made this text bold. Any questions on that? Okay. Now you do need to be careful with using this format macro because it will potentially not work everywhere, right? Because a lot of third-party, especially if you're using this with third-party stacks, right? When you inject something with Markdown, it's going to add additional HTML into that content area, okay? And depending on how a third-party stack is developed, that stack may just be expecting plain text. And if we're injecting HTML into it, it could potentially affect the styles or even maybe the functionality of that stack, okay? That's why, for instance, when I did these tab titles, I just simply used the plain text macros. Because if I were to inject a markdown into there, it could affect the styles of the tabs, okay, or potentially break them, okay? So this is just a word of caution. When we are integrating macros into a third-party stack, okay, I cannot guarantee that the formatting of Markdown will work properly, okay, or that things will be properly styled. So I do recommend that you use plain text macros and then you let that third-party stack format that text for you. Does that make sense? Okay,
Yep.
Excellent. Now, if in this case, I just had a normal text area that's just a blob of text on the page, this is a perfect opportunity to use the Markdown formatting because it's just going to be HTML on the page, right? I'm not integrating it into any sort of third-party stack content. Okay? Now, there is one other macro that we can use, okay? And that is for displaying alt text for an image. So if I were to change this macro to use the CMS ID from an image, and then I use the alt flag on that, what this macro is going to do is it's going to look for the banner image, so the image that has a CMS ID of banner. It's going to look for the alt tag for that image, and then it's going to display that alt tag as plain text on the page. This is useful for things like maybe you want to have a caption on images that are derived from the alt tag, right? So this allows us to really do a lot of flexible things in terms of displaying the alt tag as text on the page, right? Any questions on that? No? Okay, cool. And that pretty much does it for Easy CMS. A lot of things, right? I kind of went over all the available macros. Now, I guess I can go over the image stack here. To display an image, it's really simple. I kind of touched base on this really quickly earlier. You have a CMS ID, okay, that you obviously assign it to that image, and it needs to correspond to the admin stack, right? Then you can display the type of image, the size. So do we want the original image, a thumbnail, or the square thumbnail? Okay. And what's really cool also is there's also an auto lightbox feature. So in this particular page, I'm using the square thumbnail on the page, but I also have auto lightbox checked. And what that does is when I click on the square thumbnail, it will automatically lightbox to the larger full resolution image. Okay? And all that's done automatically. All you needed to do was check that checkbox and you're done. It will automatically lightbox to the full resolution image for you. Okay? And what's cool is that full resolution image is never downloaded until the thumbnail is actually clicked, right? So that ensures that page load times are a lot faster. Okay? Any questions? Nope.
Nope.
Okay. So there is actually one last thing that I want to point out with Easy CMS. Okay. And for this, I'm going to share my webcam right now so that you guys can see me. Okay. Now, all of us have one of these devices, correct? Okay. We all have an iPhone. If you don't have an iPhone, you probably have an Android. Okay. Or our clients do. And I have to say that Easy CMS and Total CMS both work beautifully directly from your iPhone. So I can edit all of my content on my iPhone through the CMS. And that doesn't mean just text. It also means images. So I'm going to go up and quickly bring up this website on my iPhone. Okay, I'm going to the admin page. Okay. So here I am on the admin page of this site, okay, on my iPhone, okay? If you notice, this has the current image that is displayed on the web page, okay? Now, I'm going to replace that image right now live, okay, from my iPhone, okay? And now, it is a little bit tricky right now, and I'm going to improve this. I'm determined to over time, okay? But what you need to do is, you know how to select text in an iPhone, right? So once that little tooltip is open on the iPhone, if you just double tap on the image, oops, I zoomed in on the page by accident, okay? Come on. Obviously, this worked for me 8 times this week, and it's not going to work for me right now. Oh, there it goes. Okay. So you open that little tooltip and you double tap on the image, and then all of a sudden this little menu appears at the bottom of your iPhone screen. Okay, now I'm running iOS 9, so if you're running a different version, it could look a little bit differently. Okay, and there's an option here for taking a photo, choosing a photo from your library, selecting an image from iCloud Drive, or if you have things like Dropbox installed, you can actually browse those as well. Now, right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take a selfie. Okay? I'm going to take a selfie right now with my camera. And I have you guys right now inside the Hangout. So go ahead and say cheese. Okay. So I've taken a photo. I've taken a selfie. I'm going to say use that photo. That photo is uploading right now. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. Okay. So now if I refresh this content page, okay, we will see that magically, here is the selfie that I took that has Gary and Carl in the background. Okay, just to prove that this happened right now on this Hangout, and I did it 100% from my phone. Okay? Now, also remember that not only did it get uploaded, but we also have thumbnails dynamically created based on this image, because the CMS does that for us automatically, right? That's super cool. Okay? Any questions?
That's very good. That's very good.
That demo always gets some smiles from people. Yeah. Okay, so that pretty much covers it for Easy CMS. I've gone over pretty much every nook and cranny of it. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is I want to review Total CMS. Okay, so we're going to go over and start looking at some of the features of Total CMS and what it can do for us. So right now I'm going to go into back to my CMS site and go to demos and go to soccer demo. Now this soccer demo is built 100% using Total CMS. Okay, and we're going to look at some of the features that we have that come with Total CMS. So here, obviously, Total CMS does images and text, as we see at the top. But if we scroll further down, we'll see that we can manage videos. Okay? We have news feeds inside Total CMS as well. Scroll further down, we have galleries. And if you click on the gallery, it will open that inside of a lightbox. And then we can navigate through all the images in the gallery. We can also display galleries as slideshows as well. Okay, so if we notice this, the same images that are in the gallery, but as a slideshow. Okay, and this empty area over here is for file downloads, and it currently doesn't have any files there. So we're actually going to, in a little bit, go ahead and upload some files on the fly. So I'm going to edit this page, and again, same caveats as before. I have a big green edit this page button. Probably not going to want to have that, and you're probably going to want to password protect this page. Okay. Now with Total CMS though, Total CMS does ship with the protect stack, which will allow you to password protect pages. Okay. So just as we saw with Easy CMS, we can upload this image, and I'm not going to do it here because it's the same exact thing as we saw with Easy CMS. Same exact thing. Same thing as this top box here. Same exact thing. We can edit this and save it just like an Easy CMS. Now, you may think that this box is exactly the same as Easy CMS as well. But Total CMS has a feature inside that Easy CMS doesn't. And if we select this particular piece of text here, we'll notice that we have a slightly different tooltip. And this is because Total CMS supports a new editor called HipWig. Now, it also has the same markdown editor that Easy CMS has, but if we, on this one, if we click bold, we'll notice that the word actually becomes bold, right? And if we go to Total CMS and we make that italic, it actually becomes italic, right? This is because HipWig is Total CMS's WYSIWYG editor, okay? Now, by default here, we're only seeing just a few of the options. These are the default options that are turned on with HipWig. But there are over 20 different various buttons and controls that you can add to the WYSIWYG editor, including things like changing font size and things like changing font colors and background colors of that font. Okay. Now, I do have to say that I was very resistant for many, many, many months that I did not want to have a WYSIWYG editor in my CMS. And that's because, as I said earlier, the reason I love that markdown editor, and the reason why that markdown editor is still the default editor in Total CMS, is because that allows you, the designer, full control over the style and allows the customer to change just the content, right? Now, you can do that with the WYSIWYG editor, with HipWig, okay? Because here, the default controls allow you just to add bold, italic, and underline, and a link, right? But as soon as you start allowing your customers to change font sizes and colors, they're going to do hideous, horrible things to their websites, right? It will happen. You will have purple on pink. It's going to happen. And why they think it is a beautiful thing, I don't know, okay? But they will do it. But Total CMS is built for professionals. And I needed to provide professional tools with that. And with that, professionals wanted a WYSIWYG editor. So I built in HipWig.
It's 12:30.
I just give you my strong recommendation that think twice if you want to give your clients that control. That's just my disclaimer, okay? But with that, the HipWig editor is very nice. It is good because you can see the bold. You can see the italic things directly in the editor, okay? So I definitely understand the benefit of it, right? But just use it wisely. So that's my disclaimer about HipWig and the WYSIWYG editor. And if you're curious on why HipWig is only a part of Total CMS, well, I didn't develop it. It is a WYSIWYG editor that I purchased. And it is not open source. It is a commercial piece of software that has a very hefty licensing fee associated with it. So that's why it is only a part of my Total CMS package. Okay. Okay, let's move on. Further down the page, we'll see that we can edit videos. Okay, and it's this text box right here in the middle. And it's just, if you notice, just a simple YouTube URL. Okay, so we support many different URLs. You can just copy and paste a YouTube URL, a Vimeo URL, or a YouTube playlist URL. And you can change them out. Like today I want a YouTube video, tomorrow I want a Vimeo video. It doesn't matter. Paste any of those 3 URLs in here, and the CMS will dynamically embed the correct video on the web page for you. Okay? Now we're going to divert our attention to the right side here. And we'll notice here on the very bottom, I'm actually still using the Markdown editor, okay? But you'll notice that it actually looks a little bit different. And that's because the Markdown editor in Total CMS supports full screen editing. And if I click the full screen button, we can enter into the full screen editor for Markdown in Total CMS. Now, if you notice, this is a split screen. And this is because I can edit my Markdown on the left and have a live preview of my Markdown on the right. So I'm going to go ahead and add some content in here. I'm going to turn this into a bullet list. Right. Oops. And then I can add a header. Right? I can add a... And if you notice, it just dynamically adds all of that content for us in preview as I type live on the right, so we can preview our content. Okay? And the full screen editor also supports light and dark themes. So you can kind of change that based on your preference, and it's really awesome. So that's the full screen editor. Now the next thing that I want to review is feeds inside Total CMS. Now Total CMS supports news feed, what I'm calling news feeds, okay? And I wanted to add news feeds before I added blogs. Well, news feeds are a little simpler, right? And I really feel, now let me just say that blogs are coming to Total CMS. I have started work on them, and hopefully they won't be too long before it's an actual supported feature. But
yeah, are you looking for Jean? Are you looking for Jean? Yeah, she's at the theatre with Karen. Yes, yeah. So they've gone to see Adam Henson at the theatre.
But, okay, one thing that I want to say is that I don't feel that everybody needs a blog. Everybody thinks I need a blog on my site, right? But 90% of the people don't actually need a blog. All they really need is a news feed. And the reason I say that is, let's give an example. Let's say I have a restaurant, okay? And that restaurant wants to have a blog because they want to post this week's specials, okay? But because of the nature of a blog, no one really cares what last year's specials were, right? No one gives a crap, right? So why do we need a blog? They don't need a blog for that, right? They just need a news feed, because news feeds are great for things where you just want to post something that's relevant to now, or maybe in the near future, or in the near past, right? But 1 or 2 years from now, no one's ever going to care about that content. So why do we keep it around in a blog? Okay? Now, with that said, again, I understand the need for some blogs, right? And some people really do want or need a blog, and that will be coming. But for right now, we have feeds, and I think that will solve a lot of people's needs. So let's quickly add a feed item right now. So here I'm going to just quickly add in a new image to my feed, and then I'm going to type in a post. And I'm going to add in some filler text in here really quick. Okay, so I've added a bunch of filler text into my post. Okay, and I've added an image. And let's go ahead and save that to the CMS. So I just hit Command S and it's uploading the image, save the text. And if you notice on the fly, it saved it and it added it down here to my existing newsfeed items. And if you hover over these items, you'll notice that we kind of have a little toolbar like we did with the images. And if I click on the tag button here, I can edit the alt tag information for that image. Okay. I can also, if I click on the edit button, I can edit this post. Okay. So that means if I wanted to change this image, I can go ahead and change the image to be that. And then I can edit the text and say, this is a edit. And then if I were to save those changes, it's going to re-upload the new image. It's going to save my new text content, and it will be displayed here. We'll notice the new image, and we have the new text. So very cool. We can edit all of our existing posts. We can delete a post, but just by simply clicking on the trash can and confirming that we want to delete that post. Now, the last item here is very powerful, okay? Because when we click on this, it gives us a box where we can get the URL to the RSS feed of this news feed. Now, why do you think that this is awesome? Why do I think this is awesome? Because this really expands our horizons for how we could potentially display and use this content, okay? Because RSS is already a de facto standard out there on the web, there's a lot of things that people can do with it, right? If you have some users that have RSS readers, they can subscribe to that RSS feed, okay? Apple Safari, their new review content, you can subscribe to stuff and have it automatically go to there. Now, granted, I admit a very small percentage of people out there actually subscribe to RSS feeds and really use that, okay? But you can also use RSS feeds to display your content on the web page. Now let's look at some of the ways that the CMS has built in to display our news feeds. So if we go back to the content page of this, we'll see that here I'm displaying the news feed in a nice list format where I have my images on the right and then my text on the left. Now, if you notice, the first two posts here actually used markdown, and they actually have headers in here, okay? I didn't take the time to do that in my test post, but it's very easy to do, okay? Now, if you notice, the test post that I just created had a lot of text in it, right? And I configured it to actually have read more. So if I click on the read more button, you'll see that it then will then display the remaining text within that post. And if I want to go back, I can collapse that text, right? So that's a very nice feature, the read more feature within feeds. Now, these images can also be lightboxable. So when I click on the thumbnail, I get the full resolution image to the one that I uploaded. Now, let's look at, there's another layout option for Total CMS feeds. And I'm going to go ahead and show this on a different demo that I have set up for Total CMS. So if we scroll down on this one, we'll see that we have a feed grid available as well. And in this grid, it creates cards. And you have customizability in terms of how many cards are in a width and all that jazz, okay? And they're all responsive. So as I reduce the width down, we'll see that the cards react, okay, and change their layout. And it just provides a very nice, elegant kind of masonry view of all of our feed posts. And all these images are lightboxable, so I can click on it and get a full resolution image. As you see, we can use markdown because I have my post titles, I have links, right? You can embed images like we saw earlier on today where we embedded images into a markdown area. And feeds also do support the RapidWeaver editor, so you can use the WYSIWYG editor for feeds as well. Okay, so this just is just a very nice, another elegant way to display our news feeds. Any questions on news feeds? No? Okay. Now, earlier I said I got off on a tangent there, but RSS. So because our news feeds are available via RSS, there are a ton of RSS stacks out there that allow you to point it to an RSS feed, and then they have their own way of displaying RSS content, right? So you can utilize a lot of those other stacks to have different ways of displaying your news feeds right out of the box if you have those stacks. I have a bunch of RSS stacks. I know that there are a bunch of other third-party RSS stacks out there. And again, all you need to do is point that to the feed RSS, and then it will just start dynamically displaying all of that feed content on your web pages. So that's a nice option. Now, another great option, if we start really thinking out of the box, outside of the RapidWeaver box here, okay, is a website called If This Then That. Have you guys heard of this website?
I've heard of it. Yeah, I can't remember in what context.
So let me just say I have no affiliation with this website. Okay, it is not mine. I wish it was. I would be a very wealthy individual. Okay, but it is not mine. Okay, I have nothing to do with it other than I use it, and it is free. Okay, so what If This Then That does is it integrates multiple web services. Okay, so it knows how to pull things from here and then push things into there, right? So let's take an example here. Let's say this is a demo site for a soccer team, okay? Let's say I create a new feed item because my soccer team won the championship. So I post an image of my soccer team holding up the trophy, and then I type in a little post that, congratulates my team and all the boys and all their hard work throughout the season, okay? And then I save it to my news feed. Now, immediately that will go to my website, okay? And then that item will be added to the RSS feed. Now, what if we had configured If This Then That to watch our RSS feed? And what If This Then That will do is it'll say, hey, look, I see that new post in the RSS feed. I'm going to take that content and post it to Facebook. And then I'm also going to post it to Twitter. Or I can post it to whatever other services that If This Then That supports, right? So what this does now, it actually turns the Total CMS admin area into like more than just editing our website, but kind of like managing our online experience, right? So now we can post to our news feeds, And it will also update our Facebook page and maybe our Twitter account all automatically. That's really cool, right? Any questions on that? Okay, cool. So now let's move on. That was news feeds. So now let's move on to galleries, and let's see how easy it is to actually administer galleries, right? And it's just as easy as it was to administer images. I just take an image that I want, and I drag and drop it into the gallery. That's it. Okay, let me do that again in case you missed it. Okay, just drag and drop an image, and bam, it's automatically added to the gallery. Okay, if you don't believe me, let's go ahead and look at the page. And we will notice that I now have 5 images in my gallery, including my 2 new ones. And they're also down here in the slideshow, right? So I have my slideshow that automatically updated those images as well. Now, if I were to click on these images, we'll see that definitely I have all of my new images inside the lightbox. That was really easy, right? Super easy. Now, what's another cool feature of the gallery is that it has something called featured image support. And what I can do is, let's say I like the style like this, what we see right now. I have 5 images displaying on the page. And I don't think it would look as nice as if I added 30 images into the gallery and then all of a sudden I had 30 images being displayed. Okay, so what we can do is we could turn on featured image support. And I can say the gallery, display 5 images. And it could be the last 5 images, the first 5 images, or randomly select 5 images. Okay, but it will display 5 images on the page. And then when I click on any of those 5 images, it'll open up the lightbox that contains all of the images in the gallery, right? So it's a way of providing a glimpse to what the gallery contains, okay? And then when you open it, you can then see everything that's within it, right? So that's a really cool feature of the gallery. Now let's go back to our admin page. And let's go down to the very last section here. And this is where we can manage files. And this is the File Depot option inside Total CMS. Now I'm going to go ahead and quickly upload some files here. So I'm going to upload an image, and I'm going to upload a PDF file, and I'm going to upload a zip file. Okay. As you saw, that was really easy. It was just as easy as administering galleries and images. Just drag and drop, and everything gets uploaded automatically for us. Now, what we'll notice that's interesting is that the icons for all these files have been customized based on that type of file. So the JPEG has an image file, and the PDF has a PDF icon, and the zip file has a zip file icon, right? That's very cool. And if we hover over any of these, you can see that we can click on the link, and we can get a download link directly to that file. Okay. Now, if we look at the content side of this, if we go back to the site here, we'll notice that I now have all 3 files here. Okay. And if I click on any of them, it can force a download to that file. So as you see, it just downloaded that PDF file and it opened it up for me. Okay. Or if I click on this image, I can click on that, and that's also going to force download. Now that's pretty nice, because a lot of times if we want to provide an image as a download, okay, most of the time it opens it up in the browser. It doesn't download it, right? So that's actually a nice feature to have. Now, if you do want the supported files that do, you can have things like PDFs and JPEGs preview in the browser as well. That's an option inside the stack. Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, you just answered my question. Yeah, you just answered my question there about viewing it in the browser instead. So
cool.
Yeah, happy with that.
Now, I do want to say that if we think outside of the box a little bit, nothing is forcing us to display a gallery or a file depot on the content side of the website. We could just add a gallery to the admin page and a file depot to the admin page just to purely manage files or manage images. Okay? Because I can just drag and drop images in here, and then I can quickly click on this button and get the warehoused image URL to that image. Okay? So I can, if I quickly wanted to add an image to, let's say, this text area, I can drag and drop the image into here, click on this, copy the URL, and then insert it into my markdown area, right? So it kind of gives a nice little way to use a gallery as like an image depot, or basically just using the file depot as a way of just dragging files on there and quickly getting download links to them, right? It's just very convenient. Nothing is forcing us to actually insert these as a gallery on our site or as a file download depot on our site, right? Any questions there? Now, I should add that the file depot will always respect the name of the file on your local machine. So as you see here, the files are always named whatever they are named on your laptop or your machine, okay? But we have a different file stack that is actually on this page here that will manage an individual file download. Now, file depots are kind of like image galleries, right? You can have multiple of them. The file download is more like an individual image stack where we manage one file, okay? And if we go into the admin of this page, we'll scroll down and you'll see here, okay, if I upload a new zip file here, well, first let me try to upload a JPEG. It's not going to let me upload a JPEG because this particular area is looking for a zip file, okay? So I'm going to upload a zip file now. And what it did is it uploaded that zip file, but it also renamed it on the server so that we can ensure that the link to this file never changes. Okay? Why is this important, or why is this useful? A use case. Let's say you have a download button to a zip file on your web page, and you just want to quickly update the zip file that button references. The link will never change, but you can easily update the file that it links to whenever you want, right? Another use case is, let's say, embedding a PDF file on your website. If you want the customer to be able to update the PDF, you can just map the PDF embed to be the same URL every time, but they could just drag and drop a new PDF all they want, and they can update the PDF on their site whenever, right? So it makes it very easy. Another option, let's say if you're using my PowerGrid CSV stack. That's a very cool stack that allows you to have an HTML data table on your website based off a CSV file. Well, your customers can now update the data table just by dragging and dropping a new CSV file directly into Total CMS. Okay. Now, one more option, let's say you're using like my HTML5 video stack or an HTML5 audio stack, where you have to provide warehoused either audio files or video files, right? You could use this to just drag and drop the new media file there, and then the HTML5 players will automatically get updated with the new content, right? So this is a very powerful, flexible feature, okay? Any questions? No? Okay. Yeah, so it's all very good stuff. Oh, you know what? I realized I missed something, okay, earlier on when we were talking about macros. I'm going to bring back up that RapidWeaver project. I knew I was missing something when I was closing the CMS file. Okay. What we'll notice inside of the admin page what we'll notice here is that I have a little box here that is editing SEO data. Okay? If we go to this site again, we'll go ahead and change the URL. If we look at the browser title, okay, of this tab, I know it's really small, but it says content dash, this is a easy CMS demo for a Hangout. Hello, Jan. Okay. Jan was on our last night's Hangout. Okay. But if we were to go to our admin page, and let's say we do change that to be hello, Carl. Okay. I can save that. And if I refresh my page, we'll see that the page title in the browser was changed to be hello, Carl. Right? Now, how did we do that? Okay. If we look for this particular page, if we go to the RapidWeaver page inspector and we look inside the browser title, okay, we'll see that I'm just using a CMS macro directly in the browser title. Okay. And we can use this anywhere that actually is inside the HTML of the web page. As you see here, right here, I have my browser title set inside the general settings of RapidWeaver. If I go to the code section, I'm managing meta tags using a CMS macro. Okay? What this means is that if the text to whatever you're inserting the macro is on the HTML page, it can be edited with the CMS. No questions asked. It will work. I promise you. I guarantee it. Okay? Now, I talked earlier about how we can customize the content of third-party stacks. Now, third-party stacks obviously have more than just HTML, right? They potentially have CSS content and JavaScript content and maybe some other things, okay? But the CMS can only control the content of a third-party stack if that content is a part of the HTML file, okay? So if some content from that stack is a part of the JavaScript file, the CMS cannot configure it, okay? And how do you know whether or not where that content is? It's basically just going to be trial and error. You can try it out. If it works, sweet, amazeballs, right? But if it doesn't, chances are maybe that content where you added the macro is maybe a part of this JavaScript file or something else, okay, that isn't a part of the main HTML file. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, cool. I forgot to make that point earlier, but I'm glad I remembered it before we finished. Okay. Now also, in terms of meta tags, a lot of times if we want to give customers access to our meta tags, if you're using my foundation stacks, let's say my SEO helper stack, if you were to add that to a page, okay, and if we look at the settings, okay, you can use the CMS macros in all of these fields here for any of these supported SEO helper things. This means that you can have customers customize their SEO stuff via the CMS if you want, right? Some customers you might want to give them access, some you might not want to, right? But like for this instance, this is the Facebook metadata. You can have them put in their Facebook username, and that could just be a CMS macro inside this field here. Now, for the image that Facebook shares for your website, in this stack, you have to put it in the full warehoused URL to that image. Well, we know how we can easily get the warehoused URL for any image managed by the CMS. That means we can now allow our customers to drag and drop images and manage the actual image that the Facebook share thing will use, right? So that's very cool. That's another feature. Okay, and that's the SEO helper stack, as that's a part of the foundation suite. And with that, guys, I think that is pretty much covers everything. Okay, is there any other questions that you don't feel that I've answered? I'd be happy to discuss those right now.
I think it answered my question. I wanted to just go back. I posted on the Google question, and it was using your tweet platform and using those.
Oh, okay.
And I think
So that particular solution could potentially work with Easy CMS. You couldn't use the CMS to upload the file for you and maintain that URL automatically. But like you could have a text field that is the URL to a file. And then you could either, somehow upload the file some other way, and then you could change the URL, right? That is possible. With Total CMS, it's a piece of cake. You just use the file download, right? So you just use the file stack. You can upload a new PDF file whenever you want, and then it will guarantee that the URL that you configured in your PDF stack never changes. So with Total CMS, it's a no-brainer. It's a piece of cake. Just use the file integration that I showed, and that's exactly what you want. For those that couldn't hear the question, maybe he was wondering how he can maintain the download to a PDF file from a button, okay? And that's pretty much the use case that I talked about earlier, where you can easily maintain that with the file integration inside Total CMS.
It's 1 o'clock.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
No? Okay, I actually have one more thing I want to show you guys before we leave. And to do that, I'm actually going to go onto my server. Okay? So I'm actually going to share just this one app. Let's go ahead and share transmit. Okay, so now I'm sharing transmit, and I'm going to go onto my server here. Okay, and this particular site that we're looking at is this site right here that we've been looking at today. Okay, and what we'll notice here is that at the top level there is a folder called CMS data. Okay, and inside the CMS data folder is all of the contents of the CMS. So this folder is very important. We do not want to just delete this folder whenever you want, okay? Because this is where all of the data for the CMS is stored, okay? And it is pretty logical. If you can peruse through here, you can see that it's organized by the type of data, and inside there you'll see that how the CMS IDs are used, okay? But really what I wanted to talk about right now is the backups folder. Because a feature of Total CMS is that it will automatically create backups for us of our content. So if we look at the backups folder, you'll see that there are subfolders for the type of content. And let's go into text as an example. We'll go into text, and we'll see that there are subfolders for every content ID. Okay, and if you look inside one of those, you'll notice that there are date and time stamped files for the last 10 edits for every single CMS content area. Okay, this is great because it allows, let's say a customer comes to us and says, oh no, I messed up. I need the text that was from last week. Okay, we haven't lost it. It's here. Okay, unless they've gone mad and they've made more than 10 edits since then. If you need more than that, maybe hopefully you have backups that you can restore to or something like that. Okay, but the CMS does store the last 10 edits for everything. That includes images and text and videos and all that stuff. Okay, so you can easily revert back and easily see the date and time stamps for when that text was last changed. Okay. Now, I do hope to add inside in the future kind of a visual way of reverting to these backups inside the admin area. That's on my list. I think it would be nice to have in the future. But for right now, all the data is there and it's on the server. Okay. Now, the next thing I want to, while I'm on the server, I want to point out is there is a file called cms.log. Okay. And I'm going to share my entire screen on this one. And I can open up this log file. And if we open up this log file, we'll see that it just has a ton of data. Okay. And what it is it's a log of everything that's happened in that particular CMS instance. So you'll see whenever something is saved, you'll see that whenever something is deleted, okay? So if you need to maybe, silently check in on your customers, making sure they're editing content or doing whatever they need, okay? You can just quickly see that in this log file. Now, no sensitive data is ever added to the log file. It's just simply where was something saved to, what was something deleted, okay? And if there are ever any sort of errors that happen with the CMS, okay, those errors are added to this log file, okay? The CMS will never put errors on the web page, okay? It'll say there was an error, but it never says exactly what the error is, because most of the time these errors are cryptic and the client won't understand them anyway. So the fact that we can go to this cms.log file and see exactly what they are and maybe the things that happened around them, like I can see, oh, he saved something to this, and then we got the error, right? So it just gives us a little clue in terms of what was going on, when that happened, right? So this log file is useful to have maybe in your back pocket if you ever need to look at it. Okay. That log file is on both. The log files for Easy CMS and Total CMS. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
And that really does cover it, everybody. Any other questions that have popped to your mind in the last couple of minutes?
I think I'll certainly give it a go. Total CMS is probably going to be overkill for me because websites are run a not-for-profit, so I'm never going to recover that. But certainly, Easy CMS. It's just getting the individuals to actually update the website themselves.
Yes.
It's obviously easier for them to send stuff to me.
Yes.
But that's the thing, isn't it? It's the same with website content, isn't it? You never put anything on the website about blah. Well, you ever actually send me anything about? Oh no. Well, we'll get around to it. But no, it's been very good. And certainly, so I've been using Foundation for about 2 weeks now. So I'm rejigging my websites using that, and I've got the basic package that comes with it, plus the one extra. If I'd have bought them all at once, of course, it would have been cheaper.
Did you watch the getting started videos that are currently on the RealMax site? Cool. Very good.
Yeah, I've watched all the videos.
Yeah, they're going to be on my YouTube channel probably sometime next week. I'll upload them to my YouTube channel. But I gave RealMax a few weeks exclusive on those videos. So yeah, they're great videos. I think they really help people get started with Foundation and kind of get a good grasp on them. So yeah, and the CMS works beautifully in Foundation, but I should say it does work in any theme. It doesn't require Foundation at all. Even though all my demos are built with Foundation, it's just because I like it, right?
Joe, thank you very much for this.
Oh, my pleasure, Carl. I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
Thank you very much for Foundation. I have changed almost every one of my sites now to Foundation. Find them all the people.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, Foundation has been great for a lot of people. It really just lets you be the artist. Basically, you build whatever you want, right? You're not limited by the constraints of a theme developer. Well, that's not necessarily bad. Some people need that, right? Because they don't have the creative, maybe the juices. So a theme is perfect for them. But Foundation is a lot of fun because you get just to drag and drop and probably find a site that you like and go, oh yeah, I can replicate that using Foundation. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, so thank you. If you guys like Hangouts, I have regular Hangouts every Friday. So tomorrow at 1:30 Pacific time, which I know it's late in the UK over there, but I have a large following from the UK people, and they're up to like the wee hours of the morning on Hangouts. It's crazy. They stay up, but we have a lot of fun. And that's every Friday. I stagger the time. So if you check out the Google Plus group, I always post them most of the time on Thursdays. We alternate. I have 2 different times. It's 9 a.m. Pacific and 1:30 Pacific. I alternate those times. So whatever those times are in your particular time zone, that's when it is. This week is the later one. Tomorrow is going to be at 1:30 Pacific. They're a lot of fun though. Come join in. We do demos of some things. Half the time we just spend chit-chatting about non-Weaver stuff as well. But it's a lot of fun. It's just kind of good getting to know other people that enjoy what we enjoy doing, you know. So thanks very much for joining, guys. I don't want to eat up any more of your time. We've now crossed the 2-hour mark. So I hope you enjoyed this and found this helpful.